Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
Welcome aboard, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. The New York Mets back in action today after a brutal loss on Friday to the Washington Nationals, where they saw their 7-game winning streak. And again, it was brutal fashion, as you can see right here on the screen. Real tough one yesterday that I needed to mentally dissociate from for a little while. First, we had to have our therapeutic stream after, but then I needed to just stop thinking about the Mets for a little while because that game really was frustrating. But today the Mets a chance to start a new streak as they are back in action, taking on the Nationals in Game 2 of this series in the District. What's up, guys? I'm Tony Metro. If you're new to the channel, my usual housekeeping, be sure to subscribe for daily Mets content. Also, leave this video a like and sound off in the chat. What do you guys think of last night's game? Are you feeling better? Did you get through it okay on your Friday night? And drop your prediction for today's score and what the Mets or Nationals, who will win and by a final score. So lots to talk about. Of course, yesterday the Mets had a controversial loss for a number of different reasons. It was a super weird game, but let's get into it a little bit. Obviously, there was the triple play, which really was stuck in the Mets' craw because of it bouncing on the infield. So first, let's talk about that a little bit. Obviously, you see it right here now with Jesse Winker. The ball clearly hits the infield dirt. The umpire calls it a line drive out. The Nationals turn the triple play. Carlos Mendoza comes out to argue to no avail. German Marquez, the whatever you call it, crew chief of the umpiring crew there, makes that call. And honestly, I think he just realized that he messed it up, and him being the crew chief was not going to go and meet up and talk with the other umpires, even if they saw it from a different vantage point, even if they saw that it did hit the ground. I think this was an ego thing from him. So that was really frustrating. Mendoza was asked about it yesterday, and if he wishes that those plays were reviewable. Let's hear what he had to say about it.
Do you wish that was a play that could be reviewed?
Yeah, I mean, that's just frustrating, that a play like that with so much impact, not only in that inning but in the game. It's first and second, nobody out, and before you know it, you out of the inning, and there's nothing you could do about it. I was asking for them to get together, and it was just a pretty frustrating play.
Why couldn't they at least just get together to talk about it?
They say that if somebody would have saw it, somebody would have just go to Alfonso, and that was my frustration there, that we all saw it in the dugout. Again, it's a tough call for the umpire at first base because he's right behind it, but there's 3 more guys there that, somebody should be able to make that call.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's 4 umpires out there. Obviously, Marquez doesn't have a good view of it because he's behind the first baseman on that play. But here's my issue with it all. Why is that not a reviewable play? I mean, so many other things are reviewable. We know check swings are not, and I'm okay with that. But fair and foul calls really don't get reviewed too often, and the same for a play like that on a trap. But if that ball had been lined into the outfield, the Mets could have challenged that play and asked for a review if it was a trap or not. In the outfield, yes, but in the infield, for whatever reason, you cannot, which makes absolutely no sense to me at all. I don't get that at all. So Mendoza's totally right about that. And like I said, Marquez being the crew chief of the umpiring group there, I think he knows he messed that play up, and he just was not going to let one of his other umpires come in and say, oh, yep, no, I'm wrong, sorry, like I made a mistake, because I think it was an ego thing, and it was very frustrating. Obviously, the Mets start that inning, first and second, nobody out, their best scoring opportunity in the game to that point, and the Mets, of course, get tripled up, and the inning is over. Jonathan, what's up, man? Thanks for joining. Appreciate it, man. Yeah, we need robot umps. Seriously, we need to have Elon Musk design some AI bots to go out there and just be the umpires for these games. I mean, we're going to get the strike zone as soon as next year. So at this point, it's like, why not just get all robots out there calling these games, right? If I was an ump, I would have given the Nats a double play and Nimmo safe at third. Yeah, I mean, it was weird, and it's then comes down to like, okay, where do we place each of these guys, which base? Because you can't really assume what would have happened, but here's my whole feeling about it. A lot of Mets fans are blaming the triple play for why the Mets lost that game. I'm not even upset with the umpires. I'm not even upset with Ryan Stanek. I'm not even upset with AJ Minter. I'm sorry, but the blame of this game has to go on Juan Soto and on Jeff McNeil. And I don't like to single out players unless it's an egregious thing where they're not giving effort. And that was not the case here. But ninth inning, Ryan Stanek on the mound. You can see it right here now on your screen. Soto goes back on this ball in a ballpark, by the way, where he spent the first 5 years of his career and can't make the catch. That, of course, leads to the leadoff triple for Dylan Cruz. The Nats tie it up on the next batter, base hit. And then this play, Jeff McNeil up the middle on James Wood with 2 outs in the inning. Kicks it, doesn't even get a glove on it. You got to know the situation there. That is a play that a big league second baseman has to make. That a big league second baseman has to know the situation that he needs to knock that ball down no matter what, whether it's with his leg, his arm, diving on it, or any other extremity of his body. You need to keep that ball in the infield. It was not a great debut for Jeff McNeil, and unfortunately, he's getting scapegoated, and I don't like to single him out, but I could not believe that he did not keep that ball in the dirt. I mean, that was just flabbergasted. I mean, as soon as it went out in the center field, especially with it being rainy that night in DC, the ball was very slow and it was not moving a lot on the outfield grass. And it was like watching it in slow motion, just like, Taylor, get to that ball. Like, Abrams with all that speed is going to try and score, and he does, obviously. So very frustrating game. Again, I place it on those 2 plays, though. I don't place it on the umpires. I don't place it on Ryan Stanek or AJ Minter. Just a tough way to have your 7-game winning streak snap. But that's in the past now. The Mets can begin a new streak here this afternoon. So let's get into it. The Mets are 18-8 now. Luckily, the Phillies lost yesterday, so they keep their 5-game lead in the National League East. The Nats, meanwhile, improved to 12-14. They gain a game. They're now actually only 6 games back, so 1 behind the Phillies. So they could be threatening for second place pretty soon. Now let's take a look. Oh, and by the way, a little extra note. Just realized that in my research here this afternoon, to add insult to injury, guess who on the Nationals was awarded the win last night? Former Met Jorge Lopez. That's right. Yeah, that really sucked to find out. Anyway, let's get into today's game. So Clay Holmes taking on Brad Lord for the Nationals. The Mets will look to bounce back from that egregious error of a game last night. Holmes on the mound for the 6th time this year, and he has looked really good lately. So far in 2025, 3.16 ERA over 26 innings. He is coming off easily his best start so far of the season. His last time out against St. Louis, 6 innings pitched, just 1 run on 3 hits and 2 walks while striking out 6 Cardinals. We didn't know what to expect from Clay Holmes when they signed him in the offseason and were going to convert him to a starting pitcher, right? We were obviously a little concerned with his first 2 starts of the year, opening day in Houston, and then his next turnaround in the rotation against Miami. A lot of walks, very short outings. He has clearly turned himself around. I don't know if it's a comfort thing. I don't know if he just needed his arm stretched out a little more. It's obvious there's going to be a few kinks the first few times through the rotation for any starting pitcher, guys that have been doing it for a number of years. But for a guy converting from a closer to a starter, it's fair to expect that there were going to be some kinks for him. But quickly, he has turned it around. His last 2 starts has been fantastic, especially that last one against St. Louis over the past weekend. So love that. He only has 4 career appearances against the Washington Nationals, and this team does not have a ton of experience against him. Let's take a look at the Nationals lineup. Speaking of which, if I could just pull it on over and maybe, let's see, everything kind of got messed up, guys, but here we go. All right, so pretty similar lineup to last night. CJ Abrams leading off. He had 2 hits. The triple and 2 RBIs on Friday, of course, came motoring around third to score the game-winning run. He is 1 for 1 in his career against Holmes. James Wood, 2 hits, including that game winner. He's never faced Holmes. Nathaniel Lowe is 0 for 1. He took an 0 for 4 yesterday. Kind of surprised Nathaniel Lowe, who won that World Series with the Rangers a couple years back, has not faced Clay Holmes more often after having spent some time in the American League there. Jonathan, I blame Minter. He was 0-2 to Woods, and then Minter went 3-2 and gave the net. Yeah. You're not wrong about that. And that's a great point, Jonathan. I totally forgot that he was obviously getting a running start, stealing second on that play. Because, Abrams is fast, but I didn't think he was that fast. But that is a very good point, Jonathan. I didn't even realize that. At the end of the day, it was a ground ball that probably should have been fielded. I don't think McNeil probably would have had an out to make on that play, whether it definitely would have been at second because he was stealing, like you said. And I don't think he'd have been able to turn his body and throw out Wood at first. But easily could have at least stopped that ball from trickling into the outfield. And then again, the Juan Soto play easily could have been a catch. It hits the palm of his glove right there. So that was really frustrating, but very good point by you, Jonathan. I didn't even think about that. Just getting back to the lineup real quick. Then you got Josh Bell, 0 for 2. He took an 0 for 4 yesterday. Luis Garcia, 0 for 1 in his career against Clay Holmes, but he was 2 for 3 yesterday. Keibert Ruiz, 0 for 1 against Clay Holmes in his career. Dylan Cruz had that leadoff triple in the ninth that Soto couldn't corral. He has never faced Clay Holmes. Jose Tena had 3 hits and 2 RBIs yesterday, including that little bleeder just past Brazoban coming off the mound to his left. He is 0 for 1 in his career against Clay Holmes. And then Jacob Young, he was 1 for 3 and scored a run last night. He has never faced Clay Holmes either. So here's my keys for a good start for Clay Holmes. This is a young lineup. They have tremendous numbers against fastballs. Clay Holmes needs to keep them off balance, pitch backwards, maybe rely a little more on that sinker and some of his off-speed and breaking balls, and just keep them off balance. I mean, that's how you get a young team out. They are fastball hungry, fastball hunting all the time. If he can limit his walks, keep them unbalanced and just off their toes as much as possible with some breaking balls and with that sinker and his other pitches, I think he can have another really fantastic start for the Mets. And most of all, like I said, keep CJ Abrams, keep Luis Garcia Jr., and keep Dylan Cruz off the base pass, okay? Because speed kills, and we saw it last night. Obviously, Cruz with the leadoff triple. He's motoring around second, easily stand-up triple to third, and then CJ Abrams doing the same thing, scoring on that game winner. If you can keep those 3 guys off the base pass, it's going to make your life a whole lot easier as a pitching staff. Just 1 stolen base from that group, and it was from Abrams last night, but obviously you saw what they did when the ball was put in place. So those are my keys for another successful start for Clay Holmes. So let's put this away now over here, and we can continue to watch this misery on this side, there we go, that side. Meanwhile, let's take a look at the National starting pitcher. Rookie Brad Lord is taking the bump for the Nats. Not one of the top-ranked prospects in their system, and so clearly not MLB-wide here in 2025 so far, a 4.73 ERA. He has pitched in 6 games. 3 of those were starts, 3 of them were relief appearances. His last time out, he got roughed up. Just 4 innings pitched, gave up 6 earned runs on 5 hits, but it was against the Rockies at Coors Field. So the not-so-friendly confines of Coors Field there in the Mile High City always influences the way pitchers pitch, hitters hit. So can't put too much stock into that, but still 4.73 ERA, not exactly great for a guy who doesn't have an extremely impressive resume as far as being a top prospect. So he's got a 4-seamer, sinker, slider, changeup, and he pitches to contact, and it pretty much works for him as long as his defense is doing what they need to do behind him. He's got the 92nd, he is in the 92nd percentage of exit velo against. Okay, so my point is 92nd percentile of pitchers for exit velo against, meaning guys don't hit the ball very hard against him. So that's something to note. He also has the 93rd percentile in barrel percentage. So guys don't put barrels on the ball against him and therefore are not hitting the ball very hard against him. So he will pitch to contact, but usually it's going to end up okay for him. That ERA suggests otherwise to me. So him being a rookie, this being his first year here in 2025, the Mets, of course, have nobody in their lineup that has faced Brad Lord before. So let's just take a look at how the Mets lineup 1 through 9 looks today. I'm just going to expand that a little bit if we can. Here we go. Nope, that's not what we want. This is a work in progress, folks. We are hopefully getting better by the day. There we go. Now we can extend it right there. So Francisco Lindor leading off, Juan Soto, Pete Alonso 1 through 3 doesn't change and actually extends all the way through 6. Nimmo back in the cleanup spot, Mark Vientos hitting 5th, Jesse Winker in the 6th hole again, followed by Francisco Alvarez, Jeff McNeil, and Luis Angel Acuna. So same exact lineup as yesterday with the exception that Jeff McNeil is playing in center field. That's right, Jeff McNeil back out there, but not at second base. Luis Angel Acuna is in there at second base instead, and Jeff McNeil will get his first opportunity in center field since 2023. He started 3 games for the Mets in 2023 in center field, and he, of course, we know was taking some was playing some center field during his minor league rehab assignment. So going to be interested to see how that works out. Can't be much worse than what we saw at second base yesterday. Too soon? Okay, maybe a little bit too soon. Yeah, I know. I'm being a little too rough on Jeff McNeil. So let's take a look. Jonathan, after Minter and Stanek meltdown, I will never criticize Edwin Diaz. Closing is tough. It is tough. It was a different type of meltdown because usually with Diaz, it's either like 2 or like 3 walks and then like a big home run or something like that. With Stanek, it was, that ball was catchable in my opinion, but, it wasn't that big home run or like, the slow kill. It just kind of happened like boom, boom, real fast. So, yeah, it is really tough, no doubt. McNeil in center field scares me. I'm missing Siri. Yeah, man, would have been nice to keep Siri up here still. But let's be honest, if Siri was still healthy, Jeff McNeil would have came up this week and Luis Angel Acuna would have been sent down as well. So that's how I look at it, I guess. I guess Jose Azocar would never have been here in the first place. So I guess Jose Azocar probably would have been sent down at that point. But, it is what it is. So hopefully we'll have quality enough defense in center field from McNeil, but the real point is, can he hit? So let's talk about that. We don't know what Jeff McNeil is anymore. Obviously wins the 2022 batting title. Francisco Lindor doesn't give him the car in 23, and the season was horrible. I'm not saying that's the reason he wasn't very good in 23, but now over the last 2 years, outside of a small 2-week stretch in the second half last year before he got injured the rest of the way, McNeil's basically been a 250 hitter. So I know a lot of people want to point out that little stretch during the second half, but I'm sorry, I am not sold on it. I don't know what Jeff McNeil is at this point in his career. I mean, he had the 2022 batting title where he hit like 316, and pretty much ever since then, he's never been the same guy outside of very, very small sample sizes here and there. I don't think he brings a whole lot defensively at second base. I do like that he can be all around the infield, but I don't think he should be guaranteed a spot in the everyday lineup just because he's able to play the corner outfield positions and second base and now apparently center field as well. I've really got to see McNeil start swinging the bat, and I've been saying this for pretty much 2 years now, going back to 2023, before I want to see him penciled in the lineup automatically every single day. I really like what we've gotten out of Acuna so far in the early going, and I expect him to continue to improve. Glad to see that he is back in the lineup today. Here's what I'll be looking for with this Mets lineup. Number one, it's been night and day for Francisco Lindor. When he's away from Citi Field, he does not look like the same guy. And I'm not calling him out because he has been so great so far this year that it's not something that I'm going to make a big controversy. But when he is on the road compared to when he is playing at Citi Field, it is a totally different looking Lindor. Some really, really ugly looking swings. A couple strikeouts yesterday, including one in the 8th inning that almost sunk that one before Pete Alonso drew his walk and passed the baton over to Nimmo and to eventually Mark Vientos. I want to see Lindor just kind of bear down, get a little more comfortable, be a little more selective in swinging, not be out of his shoes with every single rip that he has. That's what I've seen out of him for the most part on the road. Number 2, will Juan Soto finally start hitting some home runs? I mean, great. Glad he went 2 for 4 yesterday. 2 line drive singles. Very happy about that. But at some point, it'd be nice to see Juan Soto go on a tear and start hitting the ball out of the ballpark. Start hitting some doubles in the gap. Those OPS numbers, the slugging percentage, the power numbers, they're much lower than his career norms. And I know it's only 26, 27 games, so I'm not going to freak out about it at this point. But sooner than later, it'd be nice to start seeing the Juan Soto that we paid nearly $1 billion for. So that's also what I'll be looking out for. Number 3, touched on a little bit. How will McNeil look in center field? Will he be serviceable, and can his bat make up for a lack of defensive potential out there in center field? That's definitely something that we need to keep an eye on. And then lastly, as we round out this stream here, can the Mets just break through early and put some big numbers on the board? I mean, this is a guy in Brad Lord that is not a prospect, has not had a solid start to his MLB career yet. The Mets keep playing really close games, whether it's against the Marlins or it's against the Phillies or the Cardinals or the Astros, so good or bad teams. I would just love to see the Mets come out today, score 7 runs in the first 3 innings, hit a couple homers, one from Soto, one from Pete, one from maybe Francisco Alvarez. I mean, I know I'm asking for a lot, but that's kind of what we thought we were going to get from this offense on paper when the season started or in the off season. That's not really been the case. I think the Mets have only hit 3 homers in one game one time, and that came down in Miami. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that was the only time they've hit 3 homers or more in a game. I would love to see the Mets just come out like gangbusters, attack a young pitcher that's had a rough start to his career so far, and put up some big numbers early. Let Clay Holmes cruise through this one, hopefully get through 5 or 6, and then let the bullpen do their job. That's what I'll be looking for in this one. Jonathan, I appreciate you always being in the chat, and everybody else who is watching. It has been a very fun last couple days last week for the Mets up until last night, where we got a little punch in the mouth, a little taste of reality, taste of our own medicine, but a chance now here today to get right back on the horse and start that winning streak once again. So that's going to do it for this pregame stream. Mets are going to be starting here very shortly, but a postgame stream will be on the docket as well. Hopefully a happy postgame stream after a Mets W as they begin their new winning streak. That's going to do it for right now, guys. I am Tony Metro. Until next time, stay true to the orange and blue.